Welcome to the Faster, Easier, Better show. This podcast is short, fun, and jam-packed with good ideas that you can start using right away.
Welcome to another episode. I'm your co-host, Ellen, along with my co-host.
Wait for it. It's Lee. Did you miss me?
I did miss you. I'm glad you made us wait for like a little bit because that's what I want to talk about today. And that is waiting. I don't want to say how to be efficient when you're waiting, because I think the last thing you want to be is efficient because you're waiting for someone or something. In this case, I'm waiting for an answer from an insurance company for something that's important. And obviously, I've got no control. I'm very anxious about it, and I wish they would hurry up. But I'm waiting for something I have no control over, which is something I keep reminding myself about. I have no control. Tom Petty said the waiting is the hardest part, and he was right. So I want to talk today, want us to talk about things we can do when we're waiting so that we don't make ourselves anxious and make the waiting seem even longer than it is. Lee?
Oh, is that my cue? I am also waiting. I'll make a long story short. I was upgraded to first class. And so for 5 hours, I sat next to this guy and told him I write books. And he said, someday I want to write a book about myself. And then we parted ways. This is a few years ago. He tracked me down. Hey, do you remember me? I'm like, yeah, I remember you. Yeah. He's like, I want to write my book now. I'm like, great. So I talked to him on the phone. I told him how much it would cost, what it would involve. And then he said, I need to think about it. So here I am. Do I, while waiting, try and push the issue, or do I try and keep my mind off of it by doing other things so I'm not looking desperate or, trying to influence him in some way I shouldn't? So basically, other than talking about it right now, I just kind of put it aside.
Yeah.
And I'm doing other things to keep my mind off it. I really, really want to do it, but if it's not, like you said, it's out of my control.
Yeah. And that is a thing we have to always remember, is we can only control what we can control. And if we can't control stuff, then we got to let it out of our hands and our minds. And that's sometimes easier to say than do. One of the things I'm doing is I make a list of things I want to be doing this summer. And so that I have something every day that I'm looking forward to. Okay, I don't have an answer yet, but boy, did I get to do these two things that I really wanted to do. And that helps. That helps because I'm controlling what I can control, and that is my environment, my mental health, what I'm thinking. So for me, having a list of things that I can be doing while I'm waiting is super helpful.
Is that why you went to the miniature museum?
It
You feel like
is.
you had a sense of control over these little tiny versions of big things like engines,
True.
planes.
I'm a giant in this field.
Yeah. Might be
I
something
did.
to that. Yeah.
I did go to the miniature museum, and it was outstanding. And one little aside, so people know the difference between miniatures and models. Like, okay, here's a model car and here's a miniature car. The model car doesn't run, doesn't operate like a car, but a miniature car would. That's the whole point, is that they're just a miniature version of a bigger size thing. But I digress. So what have you been doing while you're waiting? How are you handling waiting?
So since there's nothing I can do to push this, and I feel like if I push it, I would make it worse. I just need to let him decide on his own. But I'm thinking positive. So I'm actually, I guess it would be like we used to say in the old days, spooling. Like I'm working underneath.
Oh,
You remember that? And so
yeah.
I'm thinking of titles. So if he does come back, I'm ready to hit the ground running.
Oh, good.
And you would say, well, is that really efficient? Because what if he says no? Well, then it's a risk that he could say no. But I'm going to think positive, put that out in the universe, start thinking of, because I can't help it. I mean,
Yeah.
and once I write something down, I can put it away and it's out of my mind. And I like to download out of my brain
Yeah.
onto paper or into my notes section of my computer. So it's out of my mind, but safe. And so that's how I'm handling it.
I like that. And who knows, something you write down, you might come up with a title. You're like, wait a second. I want to keep that for something I'm doing.
Yes,
So-
I do. I did.
Yo, you did. All right.
I did.
Awesome. Awesome. So while the waiting is the hardest part, there are things you can do to keep yourself moving forward, to stress yourself out a little less and be efficient. Be back with us again next week for another episode.